Hello, and welcome to the day 4 of the new manager training webinar. We're going to be going over groups and areas, AR, reports, notifications, rewards, and donations, and other things. So I'm going to give it about a minute or so for people to get connected, make sure that they're being able to log in and everything, and then we will get started. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started then. So this is going to be for, of course, our new manager training. This is day 4 of our new manager training sessions. So again, we're going to be going over groups and areas, AR, reports, notifications, the rewards program, as well as donations. So just as an introduction about who I am, my name is Jessica. I've been working with CenterEdge for about exactly 2 years since yesterday. Have some experience in the FEC background. I used to work at an FEC location, so definitely, pretty good knowledge base there. With us too is also going to be Alex. She's been with CenterEdge for a little over a year now. She's going to be helping to moderate, Q&A questions, anything like that. A couple of house items here, just to let you guys know, is if you have any questions, you can type them in the questions box. There will be a Q&A session at the end. However, to discuss this, you can also raise your hand if you want to ask any questions as well, which you can see there, where the how to raise your hand button is. All right, so we can go ahead then and get started. All right, some other things to go over before we get deep into anything is also, if you have any questions after this session or just anything you want to look into, you can also use our CenterEdge Help Center to do this as well. It's got a lot of really great articles and videos that you guys can check out after this if you need, a deeper insight into anything at all there. All right, some other things, of course, is just our contact information if you want to book with us. And of course, we'll go over this at the end as well, so you guys can get that information. All right, so first things first that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and enter into groups. And that's where we'll get started. So the first thing we're going to really take a look at is going to be our groups and areas things back there. So I believe on day 2, you guys should have gone over this with one of the other trainers with the new manager training. So I won't go over some of the little, the other settings in here, but what we will go over is other more specific things. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is calendars. So calendars, of course, is the views that you have in here with the little calendars up here that you see on the top right. But the other thing it dictates is that when I enter into one of these dates, it's what's going to pop up when you look at arrivals, activities, all locations, as well as my rooms. All of that is going to be controlled down here. So if I go to the bottom right, where it says setup, and when I click on calendars, this is where all that information is being pulled from. So if you ever need to make any changes to these calendars to add things or remove them, it's a pretty basic and straightforward process. So you'll enter, or you can create a new calendar, and I'll do that. Let's add a new one. So let's say this is for summer 2021. I want to add a calendar area, and maybe I have very specific things that are going to be happening in 2021 that I want to appear. I'll just add a calendar area, select what I want to show up. And of course, if I want to, I can also move these up and down. So I can say, you know what, I want all of my things that are, kind of ticketed items to be grouped together. So I can move that up and down. I can also make this a calendar that's only available in specific time periods. So let's say it's for the 4th of July weekend to, let's say, the beginning of school. You can also add a graphical calendar in here, if you have any pictures that you're using to do that. But once I make this calendar and I click OK, and I exit out of here, I may have to exit out of my entire groups module for it to pop up, but it'll create a brand new calendar view on the right, which you can see that I had, my activities calendar was in there, my swimming pool, zoo, all of those dates were all in there. So that's the area where you can go into to make those changes, to add new calendar views. If you make a brand new room or a brand new area, all of that can be put in the setup. Some other things for us to check out, of course, that's important with groups is our packages. So, that's typically the biggest way that groups and events and birthday party packages are sold. But there's a lot of stuff that really goes into them. So again, to go in there, we're going to go to setup at the bottom right. And I'm going to be in event types. Typically, once you've created a package, you're going to go into event types to actually implement different things about the package. So for this one, let's go with my basic birthday party basic zoo. Some things that you can do in this one is, for example, let's say you have to make any changes to your party packages that you've created. What you can do in there is you can, of course, find it through the drop down what specific package, click the edit button, and then here where it says base package item, we'll click on edit, and it'll lead me directly to my item. And here in detail is where I can change the pricing of it. And you are either doing retail pricing or potentially day pricing. And day pricing, all that is that you are saying that specific days of the week, the pricing is going to be different than my set retail price. So for example, as you can see here, from Sundays to Thursdays, my package is $350 because there's nothing in there. But on Fridays and Saturdays, it goes up by $50 and then up by another $100. So you can set those individual things, and this is also where you can affect the pricing. So let's say on the weekdays, I'm going to start charging $375. Then I'll just affect the price here. And once I do that, I've just got to edit in here to make sure all of my numbers match. So I'll put my extra $25 on my goodie bags. And now I can save that. And I've updated the cost of my package on this package. And that's just to affect the price of the package. If I need to affect the price of how much additional guests are in my package, then that is going to be here in the increment item. So what this will be is, again, we'll click on the edit button. We'll go to detail. And then here I am not using day pricing, so I would strictly be changing my retail price. So let's say I'm starting to charge $22.50. Go to package items and make sure that we are doing total allocation. We're good to go. I click OK. And now I've changed the price of my extra party guest in there as well. Other things to know when you're setting up these birthday party or groups packages is there's a lot of different things that you can do. So if you want to change how much your deposit is, that's going to be here in the default deposit type. So you can change it to say $125. You can do a percentage as well. So if you want to charge at least 25%, so either or, whatever works best for your facility. You can also set a max attendees. So if you don't want more than 20 people in this package, you can set that amount, and that way it'll block it off. All right, next thing that we can also do is just a couple of extra things to, change things within your package. So we'll go through a couple of the basic ones. So details, these long description and short description are going to be strictly for the online web store. So if you are allowing your customers to book online, then this is where these come into play. And the best way I like to think about it whenever I'm trying to figure out which one goes where is a short description is kind of when you are scrolling through Amazon. And you're looking at a bunch of different products at one time. They've got a short description to get you to purchase that product. Long description is once you say, hey, I kind of like this one, then you click into it, and now they give you a longer description of it. So short description is when that product is faced against a bunch of other ones, and long description is once you actually select which product you want. Other little things that we'll see in here is going to be things like our milestones. So if you'd want to start adding things like, I want to start giving certain tasks to my my party bookers to start doing it. Then we can add a milestone and say, 3 days before the event, I want to be able to to have a report generated that tells my party bookers to call to confirm details. And I can set up as many of these as I want. And every single time that my birthday party basic zoo is booked, that's going to pop up on that report. Other things that I can do here is, of course, here in reports and emails, is if I want to make any changes to what I say to my customers once they actually book. So when you have this checkbox right here where it says reservation email, that means that you are not using one of ours that's, pre-created. That means that you are choosing that you have created one yourself, and then that's what you want to use. So I'll use this one, the birthday party basic. And if I click on the 3 dots right here, I can see what that encompasses. So my birthday party basic email is their first and last name, contact name, email. Thank you for booking at this time. We're excited for their party, as well as a Evite URL. And you can put anything you want in this email template. So I know a lot of people like to do, rules and regulations, letting them know what to expect. And of course, as you can see on the right, there is a lot of ways to have certain information auto-generated based on the event that it is. All right, so a couple of other things that are important here is, let's say we need to change the capacity for anything that you might be booking. So like you can see, in most birthday parties that you do, you have a certain flow that goes into it. So that's what this area tab does as a whole, is it controls the flow of the party. So like you can see in mine, they go to the zoo, and then they go to the red room. So let's say I had to change the capacity for either one of these items. Which especially right now during COVID has definitely been a thing that I've seen a lot of locations having to do, is change as, state guidelines kind of open themselves up. So where this is going to be held is I'll click on exit. And we are still back here in the group setup screen that you can see again on the bottom right. We go into areas. And right here where the drop down is where we will select our area. So let's say it's the zoo. I can change my capacity. So let's say, I don't have, I had to lower my restriction for whatever reason. Then I can change it right here and make it into 400. And the same thing goes with my room. So if I go into the red room, I have a capacity of 30. I can change that. I can also change it on my yellow room. That's also 30. If I want to say, hey, we've just seem to have way too many people at once in there, let's reduce it to 20 people. Then it'll only let you book 20 people at a time. All right. Some other things here is, let's say you're having to create a whole brand new package. So one of the nice things that kind of comes with the system is if you already have a package set up that is, pretty much what you're looking for, you just have to make a couple of little tweaks and changes in there, is that with any of these, and let's just say it's our birthday party aquarium. All of this can be recreated pretty straightforward. So all you have to do really to create a brand new package, if you're going to have a lot of the same stuff, so the same deposit maybe you have certain max attendees, it's going to use the same areas, for example, all of that. And I'll use one that has it so you can see it a little bit better. There we go, the adventure one. Is with any of these, if you need to make a copy and only a couple of little things are going to change, like let's say you're making a bronze, silver, and gold package. They've got the same restrictions, they'll just be different prices. Then all you have to do in there is we'll just copy, say yes, and now I've made pretty much a copy of the other settings that were in my birthday party adventure package, but now it's a brand new package in itself, and all I have to do is go in there and make my price changes, maybe create a new package item and stuff like that in order to have a new package. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one birthday party gold package. And as you can see, it copied my deposit, it copied the item I was using, it copied the schedule I was using, so a lot less work on your side. It copied the report I was using, And really any extra information that I may have had in there, if I had any details or scaling items, all of that would be copied over. And that's just an easy way to be able to, create new party packages that are going to be really similar. They just might be a different price. All right. So the next thing that we'll kind of take a look at when it comes to groups, just as a whole, is going to be leaning a little bit more towards AR. And AR, what that is our accounts receivable. So really the best way to think about this is it's more commonly used really with field trips, school trips, sometimes, just different groups, not really with birthday parties. It's not quite as frequent, at least I haven't seen it. But what it is it is a way for you to say, hey, I recognize that you came in on this date, so let's say the 25th, but because your numbers are fluctuating, you didn't bring a check, you might not have had the money. I'm going to go ahead and, write it that you paid for it, but it's actually going to an AR account where we'll invoice you, but I want to be able to go ahead and post it to my sales for that day, even if you pay me later, which is essentially what AR is. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and head into mine. So this is my Southampton school. They came in for a fundraiser, as you can see, and it was $477, so a very small fundraiser. So what we do to send this to AR is really, really straightforward. What we'll do is we will take a payment, and we want to pay the balance and then finalize the event to AR. So do we want to finalize to AR for $477? Are you sure? Yes. Closest event with an AR payment of $477. Are you sure? Yes. Once we do that, it's going to finalize the group, and it's going to put it in AR. And AR is where we're actually going to be invoicing whoever it was that was coming in and letting them know, hey, we finalized it to AR. It's been, 2 months, or hey, if you guys had a time to write a check or anything, to really just finish up invoicing them. And the way to locate this information, so let's say it's about a month later, you just haven't had time to really check it out, is we're going to be down here, so straight down from where it says Tuesday, right here where it says AR payment. So once we're here, we can search for our different AR accounts. So I'm going to go ahead and find them. So this should be my Southampton. And because they're the only ones that are labeled like that, they're going to pop up automatically. The reason you see company name Henry is he is kind of my spokesperson for the company. So you won't see Southampton fully up there, but you'll see it right here, organization name, and then the contact information. So a couple of things that come here with AR is this is where you'll come to generate them a new invoice. So we can select for what it is. So if they have multiple events, I know at the FEC that I worked at, we used to have a group of students that would come in. I think it was weekly, and they would watch movies, eat food. So they had a bunch of these because they would always pay at the end of the summer. So you can invoice at whatever time you want. So all you would do there is you would select what you're invoicing them for from, and then you'll create the invoice. It'll ask if you're sure you want to create it. Yes. Would you like to print or send the invoice now? Yes. And then it'll pop up with the options of what you can do. So of course, if you email the invoice, it's going to look really, really similar to when you email a reservation out. You'll put who it's from. Mine isn't going to show up with any real information because I don't have my email settings set up here. But if you did, then it would populate with that instead. What subject? So if you want to say, invoice statement. And here at the bottom, it would automatically attach their invoice. But this box is just if you need to add any extra information at all for them or any additional attachments. Once you do that, then it'll let you know that you invoiced them. So you can see it here. I invoiced them on this date and also who created the invoice. And anytime that you invoice them, that's going to update and let you know when. Other things you can see is an AR statement report, and I'll go ahead and just set it up for today, but there's not really going to be too much tangible stuff in there because they haven't done anything. All right, and then I'll let this load. All All right, and then all it should really tell me in there is just the fact that I have somebody who owes me 2 ER, so you can see their invoice statement, that it is for Southampton School. This is their balance forward, their event, and as well as the event number and how much that they owe me, and then who they owe it to. So it's me, but of course, this would have your site's information instead. Other things that I can do in here, of course, is I can go ahead and pay for this. So if, they are like, oh, we can go ahead and pay this off, or even they send you a check weeks later, you can do that. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. Of course, like you can see here, there's a lot of pay now buttons. You can really select any of these that you want to, but they all operate, just about the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and take a payment with the bottom left button. And what it'll do here is it'll ask me what method I want to do this at. More common than not, it'll be something between a cash and a credit card. A write-off is just if, you don't expect them to ever pay you back, you're taking this off of your accounts. And a direct deposit, it's just recorded in our Center Edge software. It's not something that you actually actively do in the system. So for this, we're just going to say that they wrote me a check. I can write the reference or check number. So I'm going to go ahead and put in one, how much it was for. So this automatically generates what their balance is. But of course, if they only sent you a certain portion, you can change that number. I can write a note about what it's for. So if I want to say something like, paying for 6/25 event. And then I can also auto apply this. And auto apply will automatically apply it to any invoices that are open. So if you can see it there, when I did that, this changed over to how much of a payment amount it was and where it's going to. Once I do all that, I will make the payment. Do I want to accept this $477? Yes. And now, as you can see, their invoice balance is 0, so they have cleared their invoice balance. And if I go into payments, I can see the payment that they made and when, who took it, so what employee did so, as well as a note. So if I hover over it, I can see that they were paying for the 6/25/2021 event. So a lot of people like to add notes and memos, to kind of be able to keep track of that information, just because, in the midst of doing a bunch of stuff, people get forgetful. So being able to have notes to let you know, like, oh, why did they make that $300 payment is always helpful. And I would definitely recommend using anything that you can to your benefit. And now we generate that AR report. We will have some more information. So again, this is a report that is typically printed for people before and after they do payments, just because everyone likes to keep, all of their records and numbers on file. So we can see it here. Balance forward, here is their payment for their check, and then how much that they are due. Perfect. And that's just pretty much the basics. They come what they are. Definitely a very useful tool to use, especially if you work frequently with schools, daycare centers, any type of, churches, the Big Brother program. There's definitely a lot of different ways that you can use it kind of to the best of its advantage and to your advantage. So the next thing that we'll kind of move into is going to be notifications. So with a lot of these different things, you are going to want to get a lot of automatic information. So for example, based on what groups are coming in that are being booked, end of day balance report, a lot of things. So that's where notifications really starts to kick into play and be extremely helpful. So the first thing we're going to do, like you saw there, is I'm going to head into the manager console and I'm going to go ahead and log in. All right. So from in here, I can go ahead and start setting up my notifications. And where that's going to be is I'm going to be down here in maintenance, so the little gear on the left. And right here where it says notifications. So again, notifications are a way to get a lot of information automatically sent to you. And it just honestly allows you to be able to, just automate a lot of information, whether it be to prep for meetings before certain days of the week, be able to check out, end of day balance reports before you go to sleep, just keep a watchful eye on your building without having to, remote into the server every single time that you may need something, especially if oh, every Friday I need to remote in to get something. So first things first, of course, is you would have to have an account set up with this. It's very, very straightforward. All you do in here is you would add, put in your information, select what method you're going to be receiving this in. So I'm just going to stick with email. And once I do that, I have an account in there. And you'll do this really for anybody that receives it. And they don't necessarily have to be within your building. I've seen people who do it for their vendors, who have their vendors set up to be able to get certain reports so they know what they need to order. People who do it for movie theaters. I mean, there's just a variety of ways you could use it, just depending on what you're looking for. Next thing is, we'll be here in events. And this is where you select what you want to receive. So like you can see now, I've got 3 reports that I've got set up to send to myself. So I'll go into these that are already set up so you can take a look at them. But then I'll go into add events so you can kind of see what exactly is offered. So the first thing I'm going to go into is this one. This is an event finalized message or notification that can be sent out. And what it does is, as you can see here, is I've got it named, I've got it enabled, and I've got the email that it comes from. Again, my email settings are not set up, so this actually will not function in my system. But if yours are set up, then it will function. Next is parameters. So here, what happens with this party's finalized notification is anything that is checkboxed, so my aquarium, adventure, zoo, swimming party, and any of these customers that may be under that. Anytime that I finalize their event in the system, it is going to send them this email. And if I click those 3 dots, I can see exactly what email it is. So I can see that it's one about, thank you for visiting and booking with us, or glad you booked, you had birthday, first name's birthday with us, visit our website for future events. I have that automatically generated to send out to my customers, which again, it expedites their experience that they may have within your facility, and it also adds a personalized note after they are done within your building. You know, if you want to offer them any special promos, let them know about upcoming discounts, anything like that, you can set that to be occurring automatically. Because again, it is less work on your staff, but it is better for you, especially if you're trying to market anything towards them. Next thing that I have set up is an event confirmed. So I'm going to go in here and click on my pencil edit button. Again, I name it whatever I want to here. This is the email it's coming from. And then here in parameters, again, I'm selecting who I want it to go to. So all of my birthday party packages, my swimming party, my jump party test, and all types of customers. And they are getting this email. And again, this email is an email template I created. So like you can see, this is an email that I send out after I talk to them on the phone. This is something where I tell them the rules of capacity, where I tell them to call us if they need to add or change any details of the event, stuff like that. So again, it is just an automatic way to do these things that, you know, you're likely already doing, but without your party bookers having to remember to do it every time. You know, it gives you less of a chance of a human error, which, you know, will always be helpful to you in your facility. The last thing really is this report, but I'm going to go ahead and just go to add event so that you can see this. So add event, everything that is in here is something that you can get automatically sent to you or sent out in general to somebody. So there's a lot of them to go through here, so I definitely don't have time to go through all of these, but a couple of them are, if you're using the class module, you can get that sent. You can see the events confirmed that I used. There is also a finalized, and there's also an event reviewed. There's also a start relative date. So if you want to contact them a specific number of days before their event, then you can do that, or even after their event. A message if their event has not been confirmed yet. And then some other additional ones. The most popular one, though, however, is report, and we'll go through some basics on how that is set up. So we're going to go into report and click select. And first things first is going to pop up and ask me to name it. More common than not, people will name this whatever the report that they're using is also named. So that's why you saw my other one, if you can see it here in the background, labeled as end of day balance report. So this one, I'm going to name it something. So let's just say employee schedule. Oops. There we go. The email that it's coming from, as well as my distribution. So again, just like we went over in the beginning, we've got to figure out who needs one and who will be added to this. So I'm going to add my distribution list. I want this to go to me, which I just added in there. And I want it to go to my other employees that have an account. So let's go to admin list. And of course, if you had all of your employees in here, I mean, you just do the same thing, add it to the distribution list and send them out. Next, I want to schedule. So maybe this is my employee schedule. I want to send it out weekly to them. And I'm going to send it to them every Monday morning so that they're ready. So I'm going to select the type of schedule. So like you can see here, there's a lot of different options that you have in there. And even if you select something like daily, you can go in here and unselect certain days for it. So you only get it on certain other days. So, very few restrictions there. But I'm going to use weekly. I'm going to select the day of the week as well as the time. So I'm going to say 8 a.m. And last thing is my parameters. So, we've got everything set up, ready to go, but we still need to choose what we're mailing out. So if I click on E, I can figure out my employees' schedules. And let me see if I can remember the name of the report. Might be in S's instead, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. There we go. So we're going to do our schedule summary compact. And now we're going to set up some parameters. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can set it up where you want yesterday's schedule. Maybe you want last month's schedule. But the most common way to set up for a lot of these, especially like the end of day balance report, anything that has to do with inventory, schedules especially, people will use this option, which is custom. Custom lets me say something like, I want to see it from 14 days to 0, which means 14 days into the future to today's schedule. So again, you can set this up really in any particular way that will help you out and assist you in being able to, give your employees their schedules, receive end of day balance reports, anything that you need there. And you can also specify this by department. So maybe the schedule is only going to be for people that work in the aquarium. You can set that up specifically for them. The swimming pool, you can be specific with that as well. So there's a lot of things that you can kind of do in here just to, again, help ease the flow within your building. So I'm going to go ahead and press OK. My parameters are set. It's coming to them in a PDF. I've got my schedule lined up for every Monday, my distribution list about who receives this, and my name of my schedule, so that way they know, what's kind of coming into them. We'll click OK. It has been added, and I can see that it is also enabled. And of course, if you ever need to get rid of this, you can either go and edit and unenable it, or you can simply delete it. So either or that kind of works best for your facility. All right, now that we've gone kind of into how to send yourself this information automatically, now we're going to go a little bit deeper into why this information is important, and that's going to lead us into reports. So of course, with all of these are extremely crucial, to your business, but there are definitely a lot of things you can learn from a lot of reports that you guys may not be actively using. So speaking on reports, again, we're going to be in the manager console, and we're going to be on the far left where it says reports. So of course, there's just not enough time, I think, in the day to go through the entirety of reports. Overall, we have over 300 reports that you can view. So, just a lot of information there. But I'll go through some basic ones and kind of some things that you can do with it. So some of them are, first of all, cash control reports. These are probably some, for a lot of locations, kind of the most important reports because it tells you, monetarily wise, how you're doing within the building. There's a lot of reports that are offered here. So for example, if you need to see any information about tips that have been done in the building, there's a report here for that gratuity amount. If you need to see anything about discounts that have been done in your building, you also have access to that information. If you need to see about checks that have been received, there's reports available on that. And then just like we saw earlier, There's also one for our AR invoices that we can locate as well. And we could see it here. I might be able to find my paid one. There we go. My $477 will pop up in that area. Other really popular reports are going to be here in sales. You probably definitely spend some time in here if you're kind of accustomed to things in the system. The most popular reports of all of these, of course, is the end of day balance or the end of day report. And I'm going to go ahead and populate mine. I don't think mine will have too much information except maybe the one group that we finalized, but I'll go ahead and open it up so you guys can see it. All right, and I'll give her a second to finish uploading. There we go. And like you can see here, a lot of important information comes in here. So you can see things like what I've sold in my activities, what my rentals might look like, pretty much everything broken down from the categories and subcategories. As you can see, my charges that have been applied to my AR, any taxes that have come through, AR payments that I've received, as well as if there was any differences found within my report as well. So again, end of day balance is probably one of the most informative reports that you can use within your building. It captures so much information in there that a lot of people, it's really their main report. But it's not the only report, of course, as you can see in here. You can see sales histories of certain items. So if you guys are starting to promote anything, you can use that to figure out, hey, how's it been doing on a week-to-week basis? You know, is our promoting of this object working? Are we seeing an influx of sales? You can see any online items that have been sold and check on those as well. So there's really is a lot of information that is in here. Again, I mean, there's just not enough time in the day to go through everything there. With it though, if you ever find a report that you particularly love or you find yourself viewing incredibly frequently, you can of course set it up as a notification like we just went through. The other thing you can do so that way you're not having to scourge through a whole bunch of different reports to try to find it again is you can go in here and let's say it is my best sellers by category. I can right click on this and I can make it into a favorite report. And what this does now is every time I click on reports, it pops up here in my little favorites folder. And if I click in there, you can see my top favorite reports, and it'll even break it down here by what it is. So a sales report, a groups report, player card reports, different things like that.
You can also,
right, and then that's, yep.
Jessica, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Also, if there are, as crazy as it sounds, maybe not a specific report that is what you're looking for, we do have ad hoc reports. If you wanted to take a look at that, you can you can do filters by customers and sales. And then also a cool feature that we have is export. So you can export specific information. It's typically, I think, CSV or Excel, but a lot of clients find that pretty helpful and useful as well.
Awesome. But yeah, that's another thing that you can do is if you don't find anything specific, there are a couple of other options that you can do there for making your own custom reports in there. I've seen a lot of people use these. And then, of course, in all of them, I think pretty much every single system, you should be able to see public customer reports with examples in there for you to kind of see how filters work or what type of information populates from them. So definitely a lot of information. And of course, if you're like, oh man, I cannot figure out these ad hoc reports, you can always book a training session with us to go a little bit deeper into that information. All right, so the next thing we'll take a look at then is going to be our rewards program. So, we've kind of talked about, groups and areas and notifications and reports. The rewards program is another thing that a lot of people don't kind of take advantage of in the best way possible. So where this is, again, we're in the manager console and we're in customers. So from here, we have our rewards program. And what the rewards program lets you do is it allows you to give almost bonuses or prizes to certain customers. Almost, essentially it's like a loyalty program. So I've got two in here, but we're going to go with my superstar one. So this is my superstar rewards program. It is based on sales and visits. You can do it based on winnings or a rewards balance, and you can do it by or and. You can also have different tier periods for this. So I have mine on rolling days, which means that if I earn reports, mine expire after 365 days based on the day that my customer created their account. You can also do this yearly, so maybe you want it, the beginning of every year, quarterly, every 4 months, monthly, or an unlimited one, until they kind of just run out of rewards to earn. From here, now that I've selected that I want to do it based on my sales and visits, is I have my tiers. So of course, if I'm going to be on a reward program, how do I move up and down on it? That's where the tiers come into play. So I've got a couple of them. I've got basic, super, star, and elite. My basic is my starting tier. So like you can see right here, it's my first one. It's based on them having $20 worth of sales, as well as one visit in here. And this is how much their rewards balance is that they can get in there. Other things we can see in here is what it takes to upgrade. So once they get to super, I've got a couple of additional things. So once they get to super, which again is my tier number 2, they've done $100, they purchased $100 worth of products. They have visited 5 times. And like you can see there, I have it selected as or in my tier control. So either they have purchased $100 worth of products or they have visited 5 times. This is their rewards balance, their redeem discount. And then right here, like you can see, is I have them set to earn a pass once they get to this tier. So they get a family jump with me when they get to my super rewards level. And that's kind of the way that most of these are going to be set up. So like you can see here, once they get to star, they've purchased either $1,000 worth of products, visited 10 times, and they also get a discount. So now they get this summer save discount that applies because they've earned that to that tier level. And of course, my last one is my elite. So like we can see here, again, same idea. They've got their tier order. They have gone up in one of these. They have a rewards balance. They have a discount, and they've also earned a pass with doing this. And like you can see here, I have a further restriction. They can earn this pass once they reach 1,500 rewards points. Another thing that comes with the rewards points, just to keep in mind, is you can set customers to be able to redeem products within the POS with their rewards balance, but only specific items can do that. So you can specify down. So you might not want them to be able to use their rewards balance to buy, say, gift cards in the facility, because it's almost like they're getting extra money. So you might want them to be able to do it for, say, drinks, maybe attractions, stuff like that. So what you'll do to get that set up is we'll go exit out of here. And that is controlled in the inventory and here in item maintenance. So let's say, for example, I should have a drink option. There we go. In your drinks, here in detail, this is where you can say that you want to allow a reward purchase. So you're saying that, if you have a rewards, if you're one of our rewards members, you can get drinks with this. But you have to go in there and select this for an option, or else it's not going to be an eligible item, and it will not let you do it at the POS or, any other station. And that's the basics really that kind of comes with the rewards program. Again, these can be built up in so many countless ways, because again, no rewards program is kind of built the same, because again, no facility is run the same way. Your business is operating probably a lot different from another business, or even just the way that I created my program. So really any ideas that you have in there about, creating a rewards program for your, the active customers within your facility, if you want to start rewarding them, definitely throw us any ideas that you have out there. We'll put together something, and kind of bring that idea to life. But that's just the basic about how I have mine built. Mine's, again, pretty basic. It's got some simple stuff in there. It's not overly complicated or underly complicated. All right. The next thing, and I think the last thing we'll go into, is going to be donation items. So being able to set up for donations. So donations are really quite a fantastic thing. And if you got a chance to listen yesterday to Dewan's webinar, he went into depth with a couple of things based on donations there. So I would highly recommend you guys check out that recording as well if you're interested in more information on those. But donations are really a fantastic way, one, to be able to work better within your community. So, if you want to make a, just a partnership between you and maybe a local school, or maybe a local program within the area, you can set up donations within our system to be able to do that. So where donations kind of begin is here. So we'll go to maintenance, system settings, and down here at the bottom where we are going to see donation types. So this is kind of the way that you set up what type of donations you're doing. So like you can see, I've got two that I've done. So Elizabeth School Fundraiser and Southampton School. So we're going to use mostly Southampton School as our example. So you would add a new donation type, write in their name, and enable it. So there's a couple of ways that you could do donations. So we'll talk about the first one. The first one is, once you've created a donation type, so Southampton School, is you can go into your divisions and select the division. So I'm going to do it for my entire site. And here at the bottom right, we can ask for a donation roundup. So I want to ask for donation roundup for my Southampton donation, and I want this to round to the nearest dollar. And you can set this up to anything. So of course, you guys probably lived through it, the whole coin shortage where everybody was just running out of change. So this might be something that you might do if your facility doesn't use, pennies, nickels, and dimes. You guys only use quarters. Then you can ask to round this to the nearest 25 cents, 50 cents, the nearest dollar, anything like that. I'm going to leave mine to $1. So that is one way to do donations. And what it'll do is when you enter into the POS system, it's going to ask you as you click end order whether you'd like to upgrade your purchase, not necessarily upgrade your purchase, but if you would like to add a donation to it. And I'll go ahead and kind of show you what that example looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I am going to enter into my POS. And I'll give that a second to load up.
It's like you're waving a wand.
I'm just trying to do some magic tricks to get it to pop up. That's probably at the bottom somewhere. There we go. All right, and then I'll get logged in. And what it'll do is, let's say I'm going to ring up drinks. So I'm going to ring myself up a drink. I want a Sprite, and I want a medium Sprite. Perfect. So $3. And as you can see, I've got added tax on top of this. So what'll happen is when I click end order, it's going to ask me, do you want to round up to the nearest dollar for the Southampton School? I will click on yes. And like you can see, it added the additional 49 cents needed. I'll complete this order. And now I have put a little bit of a donation towards my Southampton school. So that is one way that you can do that. And of course, whenever you're doing these donation items, there are also specific reports to see when this has been done. Again, this kind of goes back to our reports there, but that is here in cash control report specifically. And it is going to be right here underneath where it says donations. And I'm going to go ahead and star this because we're going to be coming back to this again. But what you'll see is we're going to do it for today. And I'll do Southampton School. And when I open this, what's going to pop up is that donation that I made for Southampton. And I'll give this a second to load. Perfect. You can see my donation type, Southampton School, for 49 cents. And every single time that, somebody at the register gets a donation, it'll just keep adding up, and you can see it over any course of time. If you do this, a monthly, for a month, you're going to raise donations for them, then it'll keep all of that up. The second thing that you can do to create a donation is you can actually create it as an item. So we'll be in the inventory, and we'll be here in item maintenance. And I already have one created, so we're going to use that one as an example. And I think I named it, Southampton. So what you'll do here is we have our Southampton donation, and I've named it that. And the type of item it is it is a donation item. And I also have the donation type, the one that we created in the maintenance system settings portion of the software. I have a category, so it goes to my organizations and my subcategory donation. Some locations like to put very specific ones. So if you want to make a subcategory for Southampton specifically, or school donations, anything like that, of course, these are your reports and the way you want to view them. You can set this up any way you want. And I have it set as an open price item because I want my customers to tell me how much they wish to donate. So because of that, of course, there's not going to be anything here in my retail price, and it's just going to be set up accordingly. So what will happen here then is once I have this item set up, is I will go back to my POS, and I've already got that item on the screen. I'm going to flip around a little bit. And right here where it says Southampton donation, let's say I rung up a drink for somebody and I asked them, hey, would you like to donate to our, our Southampton organization that we're helping out? If they say yes, you'll click on that Southampton donation button and they'll let you know, hey, how much would you like to donate? $1, $5, $10. Let's say they say $5. Now we've got a $5 donation. We end the order. We've got another donation that we could do, but I'm going to click no on this one. And now we do exact change. And we complete the order. Now again, that's also going to pop up on that donation summary report that we see as well. And I'll go back to that one just so we can see it. Right, and then I'll let this one load up again. There we go, and you can see it has now been changed to $5.49. So again, keeping up with how many donations we're doing. All right, and the last way that we can set up a donation is through a package, which is another, again, popular way to do this. So again, I've got another example one here. This is my Southampton donation package. It's set up as a package, but this one I reported a little bit differently. I want this to go to my parties. Again, you can set this up any way that you want. And the reason being is in my package items, the reason you would set it up as a package is potentially maybe you only want 50% of sales to be reported to it and then 50% of sales to the other item, like you can see there. So I've got that package set up. The other one that I have is this one, which is my Southampton fries. So let's say that you are doing this donation for specific products within your building. So maybe you're selling t-shirts for them or you're selling a special edition socks. Then what you do there is you will have it again as a package. And I named it accordingly just so I know what I'm going to be selling as my donation item. And here in package items, I'm doing the same thing. I've got my Southampton donation and what other product my customers get with it, so my fries. And maybe the way that I set up this donation with the school was that, hey, 50% of proceeds go to you, and then 50% of proceeds, go to me. So that's why I would have it set up as a package item instead of an open price item, or even as a, automatic thing that pops up on my POS once I complete an order, is because we're doing it based on specific products. So once I have that set up, again, we'll be in the POS screen. And you can see it right here in my Southampton fries. So I will ring that up. It is for $3.28. End order. Do I want to round up? Not right now. Exact change. Complete this order. And again, I will show you that report one last time, which is our donation summary. Again, populating the fact that they get 50% and I get 50% of proceeds based on those donations that we're doing. There we go, and you can see it went up to $6.99, so about $1.50 for each of us. And that report, of course, comes in handy at any point in time. If you need to do things with your taxes or they need that report for whatever reason, then all of that information gets populated in there so you can both keep track of this. All right, so that was pretty much the overview on groups and areas, being able to do things within the system, AR and reports, how to use notifications, rewards, as well as donations. So, Alex, is there anything in particular you would say that, we need to go back over, or anything that, you want us to take a second look at?
Yeah, just real quickly, if you wouldn't mind, because this question comes up with some new managers. If we can get back into groups, and if we go to an area, because sometimes, business needs change and sometimes the time blocks in certain areas need to be adjusted. So if you could pull up an area and set up.
Okay, do you mean an area in here?
Actually, in the setup. So yeah, so let's actually look at your in adventure course real quick. And go to schedules. So a lot of managers are having to adjust some of those times. So where do they do that? You want to go over that really quickly?
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, we can go over that. So where that is going to be adjusted is, of course, like you saw where Alex led me, was set up at the bottom right. And then I'll go back out of it so you can see it exactly. But set up, the areas button, we'll click the drop down to find the location. We'll click on edit at the bottom left. And then here where it says schedules is where that's going to be affected. So if you're creating a brand new schedule, the one thing I always do is, well, there's one thing I never do is add a new schedule, because that is how you get things like this, schedule mapping errors. So what I do instead, to make sure that these are created correctly for one, and they won't populate with, 100 something schedule mapping errors, is I will make a copy of this, name it to whatever I need. So again, we'll use my generic summer 2021. I can set a date for this. I'm going to go ahead and say this starts on the 4th of July weekend. And here in time blocks is where I make those editing changes. So let's say, we're going to have to scrap this whole schedule. My hours just completely change for certain things. So what I can do, I can clear all days. Perfect. And now I'm going to change my slot length. So I want my entrance time to be every 30 minutes. And I change that right down here. And now all I have to do to create a brand new schedule is select my start time and drag all the way down to where I want it to end. So I'm open until about 8 p.m. And I will add it. And like you can see, right down here where it says start time, it is every 30 minutes is my start time. And what I'll also do to make it easier on me is, I have the same schedule every single week. So I'm going to do copy days. I'm going to copy from my Friday over to every other day of the week. And I'm going to click OK and yes. And now my schedule has been copied for every other day of the week. And of course, if I'm like, oh, but Saturdays were open a little bit longer, then I can just go in here, drag again, and add more time slots. So very, very straightforward there. If you need to make a brand new schedule, it is a straightforward process. But of course, if you get things like that, schedule mapping errors, it is a little bit kind of daunting sometimes. And now what I'll do to make sure everything's good to go is I'll validate my changes, which means I should not get any more schedule mapping errors. And I can also use this right down here, highlight date, to tell me what schedule comes into play when. So that is the way that I know that on July 17th, this is the schedule that I'm now going to be using. And you can make schedules for any time. So if you want to make one specific for the 4th of July, you can create one for that. For Christmas, you can do one for that. Any holiday you can think of, all you have to do is make a schedule for that and select that specific start and end date so that it is a one-day only special schedule. All right.
That was great. Do we have any questions? Anyone want to write anything in the chat or raise your hand? Everything that Jessica reviewed today is available in our help center. You can type it in. Jessica, if you want to show them help from Manager Console, they can actually access the help center.
Yeah, of course. All right. So if of course you guys have any more questions or just need to take a deeper dive into certain things, you can always access our help center through the Manager Console. So where that's going to be is once I log in, at the bottom left of the screen, right here is Help Center. So some things you can do is you can click on the online help, and what it'll do is it will open you up to our CenterEdge online help. And as you can see, you can browse by different topics. So if you're like, oh, that was great, but I need to look at some more stuff, you can click on events specifically to find out more things about that, or videos in particular, or you can type in anything. If you're like, oh, I think we talked about notifications, you can type that in, and any article that has that information will pop up. Alongside with that, in the manager console is where you can also get to the support portal to look at any of your support tickets, or to also submit one as well for that information.
Yeah, and that online help also has the link where you can schedule. So right there it says open a ticket with support or schedule a time with one of our trainers. And it will link to the trainers, and you can see their schedules, and you can see who has availability so that they can meet with you one-on-one if you have additional questions. So last call for questions. Anything that you need some more clarification on, or you weren't sure, we're more than happy to go over it really quickly or show you again. Feel free to raise your hand. We can unmute your microphone if you'd like. But if there are no questions, we will have this recording available likely next week so that you can get a copy of it and let's do it again. And if there's no other questions, we thank you guys for joining us for today's webinar. We hope to hear from you if you do have anything that we can help you with. Otherwise, we hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of your weekend.
All right, sounds good.